here we are at the Dragon's Den style event, bringing together the two worlds of academia and commercialism. We have 5 dragons from the local commerce and industry, and we have 7 contestants battling it out with the dragons.
Okay, I'm Chris Fillion. I'm a third-year PhD student in the Web Science Doctoral Training Centre at the University of Southampton. I can definitely see why people on Dragon's Den do get nervous, because it was quite nerve-wracking. So what I'm looking to do is to provide more context to Twitter analytics. At the moment, there are thousands of services out there on the web that will do analysis of engagement and interaction on Twitter. What they very often don't do is look at what the organisation themselves are doing on Twitter to see if the sorts of communication they're carrying out will actually lead to and facilitate the interactions and engagement they're trying to achieve on those sites.
And how do you think the dragons took it? Did they like your idea?
The questions were good. They seemed to be looking like they wanted to know more in depth about what I was saying. And yeah, I was getting some nods and some positive smiles and stuff throughout that. So quietly confident at the moment.
Excellent. And what would you like to happen next?
Ideally, I'd like to be able to take this further, develop into a full-scale service. At the moment, it's running locally on my laptop. I mean, I can use it. I can do analysis for organisations, but it's not out there for people to use.
And the big benefit for the end user, what would that be?
Better understanding. So at the moment, lots of organisations, especially SMEs and charities, are becoming aware that they should be using social media. They all sort of know they should be on there, but they start using it and then well, is this worth the time? What are we doing on there? If they have some way to actually analyse what they're doing and what response they get from doing that, that then provides them with sort of added confidence around that, added understanding of what value it is producing, and then they can say, okay, it is worth us spending X amount of time on social media.
Well, I'm a first-year post-grad PhD researcher. I did my MSc here in Web Science, and that was wonderful, really enjoyed that. So I'm now hitting the ground running doing my PhD, which is on online-offline communities and how online can serve offline. It can be two-way, interdependent, and how the neighbourhood is all important for social capital, for civic engagement. So it's and what I'm proposing as a business idea is something called MOOC meetups. And
MOOC meetups, that sounds exciting. Tell me what MOOC is.
Well, MOOC is a massively open online course, and it's available to everybody globally. And I'm putting together the MOOC infrastructure that's out there and growing daily. There's a lot of interest in MOOCs at the moment, and I'm putting that together with the infrastructure of Meetup, so that you can locally in your neighbourhood have self-sustaining and organising meetups where you learn from MIT, from Harvard, from Southampton University, anywhere you want to on any subject that's available to you, but you do it in a cohort.
Oh, right, so it's not necessarily for me to sit at home and just get online, but me to sort of actively work with the community to learn in a collaborative way, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. So you get the strength of the community encouraging you to stay with it. Occasionally a criticism of MOOCs is that people drop out too soon, but I think the completion rates will really improve if you've got that sort of group dynamic that's kind of keeping you going. And yeah, so that's the idea in a nutshell.
Fantastic. So what makes what you're doing very different from anything which may be out there already?
Well, it is different. I mean, there's Hot Courses, which is a competitor, but that ranges across all the education spectrum. It doesn't specialise in higher education, and it doesn't actually afford the self-sustaining and organising groups in the neighbourhood. I'm also looking at another kind of customer, which is local councils, because I think that people who are looking for work would find a MOOC meetup very interesting to sort of build their skills level. So I think local councils would be really interested in supporting MOOC meetups.
Yeah, no, that's a MOOC meetups. Yes, it's a mouthful. That's a lovely way to use it, which is important. So how do you think the dragons took to it this morning?
I think that they took it quite positively. It's a strong lineup. There are lots of really good pitches, so I would be really flattered to be amongst the awards. But I enjoyed the whole process, and that's the best thing. And the ideas are to be developed with or without the award funding.
And part of what today's about is bringing academia and the commercial world closer together as well. So from the questions that the Dragons asked you, did you take away any good learning from that yourself?
Absolutely, no. The expertise in business modelling that was demonstrated by one of the Dragons in a presentation just given was extraordinary. I realised the subtlety involved and the flexibility, and I would love to be sort of mentored by someone with those skills.
Now, I'm with Garry Willis, and Garry, you're one of the contestants in our Dragon's Den event today. Tell me more about yourself and also what your programme and idea was.
Hi, my name is Garry Willis, just said that. I'm a lecturer at the University of Southampton. I've been interested in the way that people use ICT for a while. That's information and communication technology for a while, and particularly how they use it overseas in developing countries. So I've had the privilege of being over there a few times, quite a few times, 3 or 4 times a year, and seeing how the mobile particularly has really been so ubiquitous. Everyone's got one. Even if they haven't got much money, they've got a mobile. And also how communities are being changed through the use of mobile. So I've got a lot of friends working in country, in local communities, and changing them through technology. So that was my motivation for this.
Excellent. And your presentation demonstrated that actually we may find them quite easy and quite inexpensive to access, but in other parts of the world it's really expensive. And you're trying to bring that down, make it more accessible. Is that right?
I am, yes. So, as I said in the presentation, a teacher will pay a lot of money for access, and they're fairly well paid. The average worker won't. But what we're trying to do is make that the cost of airtime, as they call it in South Africa, the airtime down, so that they can get the content easily using their mobile phone without having to pay the internet charges for that information.
Okay, so it's making remote access of the internet easier and more affordable. So who specifically are you looking at to benefit from this?
We're looking for any rural community, really, because they're the ones who are suffering the most. They're normally underpaid. They don't have access to the. It's not worth the large networks servicing these communities. And when I say rural, you've got to understand that when I say a village in Africa, it could be on a hillside for 5 kilometres, very dispersed, not like a British village, which is nice and tight. It's a very dispersed population in a sort of village area, and it's those people we're trying to get this technology to, in order to empower them to have access to the internet and the information that is available to them.
Okay, fantastic. And when are we going to see this live and actually out there? What needs to happen from your perspective to make it happen?
For us, we just need to get the small amount of capital to make the blue point boxes ourselves, and actually try it in 2 villages to start off with. So we're looking for a small amount of funding to do that. And that's it, really.
Well, I'm Julian G, and I've been here today pitching a product called I Am Profile, which is the digital CV for the Facebook generation.
So tell me the benefits of your system.
Well, it's designed to replace the standard 2-page CV written on A4 paper or sent as an email attachment. It's an online CV product. Young people can build a profile, and they can send invitations to view their profile to potential employers or work experience offerers. And the way that it works, it's got all the functionality of old CVs. It's digital. It's well designed. It's specifically targeted at 16 to 24-year-olds, and it has added benefits such as the ability to record a video to basically show your own personality. And so it's a richer, probably more informative way of marketing yourself to possible employers.
Okay, because we all know that employers look at Facebook and LinkedIn. So is this a take on that kind of concept?
Well, yes, it's trying to bring that together. It's trying to combine the traditional CV, which is really hard information, probably quite dull, and taking on board, yes, absolutely, as you said, the fact that employers often will go and look at people's social media profile footprint, and also have a look at their LinkedIn profile. So why not actually give them what they want in a digital format in a way which you want to present it?
Excellent. And how do you think our dragons here took your idea? Were they excited by it?
Well, they asked me some penetrating questions. I always thought that was going to be the hardest part of the whole process. I had to stand my ground. I think I managed to do it quite well. Obviously, they drew comparisons with LinkedIn, but hopefully I batted that back to them because it isn't a LinkedIn. It has additional functionalities to LinkedIn. So, yes, they asked me hard questions, and it was a great experience, very enjourable.
What has to happen next then for you?
Well, really, everything is running. You can go on now and you can set up a profile today. It exists, it works. It needs some development, and it needs publicising, which is one of the reasons I'm here today. We need to get out and tell people about it. We've been waiting until we had it in a format which was usable, because it's much more believable like that. It's usable now, people can use it, there are profiles on there, and now we're coming out and talking to people about it, and also hoping to raise some funding to enable us to take it to the next stage.
What Threadbare is going to allow you to do via motion tracking is to actually walk as though inside an orchestra. Wow. And listen to a performance, so that what this means is that every time that you walked in a different route with a different duration, you'd be able to listen to the same piece of fixed digital content in a different way. It's a way of bringing the digital to life.
Wow, this sounds incredible. So what are the applications for something as this? I mean, we speak about orchestras, but surely it's got applications elsewhere as well.
Well, that's my interest. I've been composing in the digital studio for a long time, and you can compose very complex sound that can't really be heard on speaker systems. So my interest as a producer of music is to really elucidate the content of complex things that I'm making and that other composers are working with. But of course, it's got much wider applications than that in heritage, tourism, entertainment, musical training, and of course corporate and defence applications as well. I don't know of any other system that yet exists that has this kind of interactivity and resolution of response.
Wow, so heritage, I mean, if I'm walking through a stately home, for example, then it'll just track me, follow me, and tell me what's going on around me, that sort of concept.
Yes, exactly. I mean, at the moment you have to either press a button to say that you've now moved to the next zone, or you listen on speaker systems, and so everybody is made to listen to the same content at once. This is something that's both social, lots of people would be listening with handsets in their pockets, tracked as they move about, but listening to the audio that's specific to their location and the type of content they want to hear. So it's both social and individuated according to the movement of the listener.
Superb. It sounds phenomenally complex, but presumably the technology exists to make it accessible.
Yes, it does. We've built a prototype which works with Max MSP and processing, which are two audio development frameworks that work on Windows-based PCs and Macs, but they don't work yet on iPhones. And so what we're going to have to do is translate this to a smartphone platform and then make it into a bundle that can be downloaded as an application with audio attached, such that the listener simply goes to the iTunes store, download a thing like an album really, as you do now, go to the place, click play, and that's it.
You had a great reception, I noticed, from the dragons in our den here. So what needs to happen next from your perspective?
Well, we need to obtain the funding and win the prize, and then we're going to go to proof of concept stage, hopefully, with that in the next 3 months. Develop a really attractive user interface that can be used by anybody without training. At the moment, it's very much a geek tool. We want this to be something that you can drag and drop, create your own sound walks very quickly, and then put that straight onto a portable device and field test it, so that we can then demonstrate this to people such as those working in heritage and those who might have an interest in imparting corporate information.
You said my name is Somek, and I'm a PhD student from Manchester School of Art. I'm in my third year, and although my research field is a bit different, where I'm looking into nation branding. And the project which we presented today is about an app called RightHome. It's an app for iPad users where you can write a letter, you can experience writing a letter, then you can fold it like an envelope, and then you can put stamps. Now, where it is a bit different from other apps is that these stamps are charity stamps, where a person can actually buy those charity stamps for 30p and send it to their loved ones. So the idea is that when you're writing something to your loved one, why not share that love also for people who need the help?
What a great concept. So it's using modern technology, but going back to the very personal and thoughtful method of communicating through handwriting. So what was the inspiration for you behind this?
Well, one of the major inspirations was that the idea was actually my professor's idea. But when I started contemplating about it, I thought I suddenly remembered the fact that when I was 18 years old, I was expecting a big gift from my parents, and I got something nice. But the thing which I still remember and cherish is a letter from my father. And he wrote a very personal letter to me, and I still cherish it a lot. So that kind of connected me to the fact. And then it made me realize that I haven't written any letters in a long, long time. And I don't remember receiving any letters from anyone. Because today's time, it's a digital age, and we write emails and we just send it off. Somewhere the emotional connect is missing. So that's the idea where we thought that, okay, there is the scope for this.
How did it go for you today? And also, what do you need to do next? What's going to happen next?
It went very well. We hope that we get the recognition which we're looking for, because then we can approach investors and other companies and charities and we can always say that we have participated in a Dragon's Den's competition and we got recognized. So it's very important for us. And right now, the first and foremost thing is to work on the project, on the app, and make it as perfect as possible. And after that, let's see what happens.
Okay, well, I'm Tony Cook, and this is...
I'm Joanna Gilroy.
And we're former MBA students from Exeter Business School. I personally have just started a PhD in innovation and entrepreneurship as well. But we're working on a project together, which started life in a sustainability business competition at Exeter Business School. Okay, well, the starting point for this is a recognition that water worldwide is a really serious problem. So at least 2.7 billion people are living with water stress on a daily basis. And around the world, something like 10 countries are already at very extreme levels of stress, with another 30-odd suffering chronic stress. So by 2050, we reckon something like 4 billion people will be short of water. So it's a massive worldwide problem. What we've thought about is how do we come up with a 21st century solution to what is essentially a 21st century problem.
Excellent. And what is your solution? How does it work?
Okay, so the problem with water on the ground within river basins and watersheds is that there's a lack of transparency around who's using it. Something like 5% is used by society, 10% is used by business, and the rest is used by agriculture for irrigation, something like 85%. But it's always business that takes the heat when water runs short. Classic cases of Coca-Cola in Uttar Pradesh in India back in 2003 ended up losing its local license to operate and having to shut the factory down. There's lots of precedent for why business should take this issue really, really seriously, and indeed it does. So what we're trying to do is provide a new platform that aids the process and aids the allocation of water within a watershed more equitably.
Yes, effectively. It's a way of identifying accurately and in real time how much water is being used by a business. You could even break it down through their operations, how much they're using at any given point. And then again, this is recorded accurately and also honestly. With the idea that you've finally got a platform that operates as an honest broker, so that you can then start to build trust between all the different stakeholders operating in a local area.
We've just come back from Rajasthan, where we were working with local government, the local Chamber of Commerce, the local Farmers Union, and so on, looking at a watershed level solution, and came back utterly convinced that this is going to work.
And this is where WaterWell is going to be different, because unlike other metrics before it, it's actually going to find a way to link water use with value that's being created, both social value, economic value by business. So the information that we gather will have real meaning, and more importantly, it will be understandable to everyone. It won't just be a list of numbers. Everyone will understand what that means, whether you are a big business, a small business, a homeowner, or a farmer.
So behind me in the auditorium, we have the final presentation to the Dragons. As soon as that's done, the Dragons then will deliberate and work out which one's the winner. Okay, Alan, you were one of our Dragons in this fantastic Dragon's Den style event for the University of Southampton. So what was it like up on the stage? What were the quality of the presentations that came your way?
I think the ideas were pretty good. It was the hard thing was sorting through which ideas were probably going to make it into reality. So we had to look at stuff other than how good the ideas were and start to look at the team and the plan and the market and so on.
which are sometimes quite alien topics to the academia, if you like, who are coming up with the ideas.
Yeah, I think we had to ask some questions, as you noticed a few times, to try and clarify in our minds where they thought the market was, and we also had our own views as to where the markets might be as well, which didn't always tally with theirs.
Yeah, and clearly some of the projects are quite exciting, but I also spotted when I was there watching the contestants that they were getting quite excited, and I spoke to a few of them afterwards about the learning from you guys, from the entrepreneurs and the commercial people in front as well. They really enjoyed that part.
Well, that's very good of them to say so. I felt sometimes we were giving them a bit of a hard go, but that was mainly because we were trying to get to the bottom of something we didn't understand, or try and clarify something they'd said, or maybe where we thought they were shifting the ground a little bit and pin them down a bit.
And what do you think about this style of event? How important it might be for getting new ideas out there, but also for getting commercialism into academia?
Yeah, I think showing universities that their ideas are useful, but also that there's other stuff you have to think about than the pure technology doesn't hurt. And also seeing what other people are like in front of a sort of commercial or semi-commercial environment, because they've 7 teams and the styles are quite different. I thought some were much more commercially adept than some of the others, so it probably helped the ones who weren't so adept.
Super. I've got one of the dragons in front of me here today, Alan Ray. Alan, welcome to Southampton. So tell me a bit more about yourself, and also the criteria that you're looking at today for presentations.
Okay, I basically chair our sort of family horticultural business, which is based at Fletching Glass Houses. We sell a lot of plants online, we grow organic vegetables, and I do a certain amount of business advice. The criteria that we used today were effectively how well they'd put their case together, whether we thought it was doable, whether we thought that the individuals had the necessary drive to push it through, and how distinctive the offers were, really.
Excellent. And it's also where academia is meeting the real-life commercial world, and all you dragons have been phenomenally successful entrepreneurs and businessmen in your own right. How was that perception of the ideas coming through and their commercial understanding of the realities?
I think most of the ideas were really very interesting. I think some had much more of a sort of commercial edge to them than others. I think there's a real need in a sort of entrepreneurial marketing situation to have done some informal market research, to have established that you've got a viable proposition, and then you have to basically have an understanding of how you're going to assemble the resources around it, not just the financial resources, but the people resources, and able to be able to sort of make the whole value constellation, if you like, a reality.
Brilliant, excellent, thank you. And how valuable do you think events like this are to bring ideas into the commercial world?
I think it's very useful to give, particularly to give people who are working in an academic environment some experience of some of the things that they'd have to think about if they really wanted to take an idea and make it a reality. I mean, sometimes people come up with things which have got a strong enough business proposition to make it on their own. I mean, I remember when I was doing research myself that one of the people in the department came up with something to do with dry rot, and that was a sort of a natural no-brainer. But some ideas require more work than others to make them fly.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm now giving the secret away who actually won today. What was your general feel about the quality, and what excitement or emotion did you have around the projects as they came forward to you?
I think that some of the projects, the ones that sort of won particularly, were inspiring. They did catch the imagination, and we did think that they had a sort of reasonable shout of actually getting somewhere.
Brilliant, that's great. So what needs to happen next from your perspective? You'd like to see more of these?
I think these kind of events are always useful because it just basically gets people out of their environment and forces them to actually make new connections. Because one of the things that we know from permaculture is all the activity is on the boundaries.
And so the dragons have heard all the presentations so far. They're having lunch, and over lunch we're deliberating on the winners. And in a few moments' time, we'll bring you the first, second, and third on today's Dragon Den event. So the dragons have shared their ideas on who was first, second and third. So let me just tell you. And third place was Tony and Joe with an amazing project called WaterWell. And this particular project, it's about democratizing the access to data on water globally, so that we can share it in a responsible manner, so everybody takes the brunt and the benefit, which is a key thing. In second place with Garry Willis and an idea called Blue Point. And this is about making access to the internet in regional rural areas totally accessible and affordable using mobile technology. But the winner was a fascinating project. The title was Threadbare, but it's about making audio and music part of your life in a very different way. And this is from Ben Mawson. His concept was using the principle of monitoring which way you're facing, which way you're going, and with an audio track which is live and with you, you could be inside an orchestra as they're playing their music. And quite a phenomenal concept, is that right? All the judges were looking at three elements. That of a commercial element to it all. How commercial could it be? There was an interest side. How exciting was it? And the third one was also how real could it be? Is the technology there? Does it exist? The person behind it, do they have the commercialism, the expertise to take it forward? So an exciting day, and we have our winners at the Dragon's Den event. It's the end of an action-packed day here at the Vere Hotel for the Southampton University Dragon Den style event. We've heard some fantastic ideas with some great feedback from the commercial and entrepreneurial brains locally. And I hope you'll agree also that it's a great way to bring the two worlds together and ensure that the exciting ideas from universities get out into the real world. So thank you.